Okay, welcome everybody to the Protecting Your Email and Avoiding Online Scams webinar. We had a few emails circulate this past month, and so we thought it might be a good idea to put out a little education for our members. Today's agenda, or actually before I jump into that, if you can hold your questions or put them in chat, that'd be great. When we get through this, I'll try to do a little open Q&A for anyone that has any additional questions on materials we're presenting. So today's agenda, number one, securing your email. We're going to go over the best practice ways of keeping your email secure at a basic user level. What is email phishing? We'll go over the types of email phishing scams that are out there.
Is there audio I'm missing?
Does everybody hear me? Tim, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I think Nancy's just has a audio problem right now. Okay, we'll work with Nancy offline here. So anyway, we'll go over the types of email phishing scams that are out there right now and what kind of information scammers are after. Identifying potential scams. We'll be teaching you some of the simple methods to help you better identify potential scams and what to look for. And avoiding scams. We'll teach you a way to avoid spam and reduce the amount of spam that you may be receiving in your email. Starting with securing your email. One of the simplest ways is passwords, and we'll go over a few don'ts in your passwords. Don't use simplistic passwords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Password 1, 2, 3. Any kind of combination of your username. Do not use your birth date or your name. Do not use any portion of your email address. Try not to use any personal information, your city, your birthday, family member names, items like that. Things to do to help secure your passwords. A strong password is typically at least 8 to 12 characters long. And if you want to, 14 or more is better. And that gets into password phrases, which are a lot tougher to crack. The best use is a combination of uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. As a rule of thumb, passwords should at least be 8 characters in length. And most places now, when they have you create a password, whether it's your email or an account somewhere, credit cards, stores, etc., do want at least 8 characters. Again, if you can come up with a passphrase, those are less likely to be hacked or cracked at some point. Excuse me. Again, use a combination of different characters, at least one uppercase, lowercase letters. Never use common information in your password, and never use the same password twice. You'll see an example down below at the bottom of the screen here. Password with capital P, capital W, a few numbers, and a few symbols. Now that one's probably going to be a relatively, not a simple hack, but could be hacked because most hackers will tend to utilize some kind of bot that will run a series of characters, words, and numbers against your password if they try to use it. So best 4 practices for passwords and their guidelines. Again, you want to create a strong password, at least 8 characters, upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. And again, a passphrase is going to be even tougher to crack. And here's an example of one. This protocol could save my company, whereas the first O in protocols is 0. The S in save is actually a number 5. The A in company is the @ sign. So those are various ways. So, you know, if you were to use
for calling the retired public employee.
Use the word password, you could write a capital P. You could use the @ sign for an A, a 5 for an S, followed by another S, something like that. Those are tougher to crack. Never reuse old passwords or variations of those. Usually if a hacker has gotten into your email at some point or hacked your account at some point and you change it and say it was password 123 and you change it to password 456, that's probably one of the first things they will try is a variation on your previous password. Keep your passwords to yourself. I know a lot of people like to write their password down, stick it on a Post-it, put it under their keyboard. Chances are most hackers aren't going to come in your house anyway, but for your security, especially if you're using it for email and banking and credit cards, stores like stuff like that, just to be safe, it's best not to do that. And another great point of protection is if you're done with your computer, log out or lock the screen if it's password protected, you know, or at least just shut it down. If you're using an application like Outlook for email, close the application. If you're using a web browser to view your email, log out. So those are a few more do's for passwords. This portion here will carry over to a lot of other applications that you may get into. Your bank, your credit card, those websites that you may visit, but some email providers may also do this as well, is if you have the use or it offers you the use of multi-factor authentication, please utilize it and turn that on. And your email provider or your, if it's through, like I said, your credit card company or something like that, they'll provide instructions for you on how to do that. What that does is that when you try to log in, usually you attach, most common way is to attach your cell phone to your account, and it will text you or call you with a verification that did you indeed log on, you would approve it or acknowledge it, and then it'll allow you to log in. So that way, if somebody tries to hack your account and it's not you and you're not logging on, you can say no, and it should stop that breach right then and there. Another great use, and this again goes beyond just your email. This is good for banking, for your credit cards, for any stores that you may shop, Amazon, places like that, is password managers. A password manager is an application either residing on your computer as part of your browser or online, where you store your personal information and the logins for that. It's a tool that does the work of creating and remembering and filling in the passwords for your various applications. You would just have to simply remember the one password to log on to the password manager. And what it will do is you say, I'm going to log on to my Comcast email, and you tell it where it's going to. It will create a password, an encrypted password for that logon. And instead of you having to do it, and it's virtually unhackable with what it creates. There's a number of them out there, and they're relatively inexpensive. The top 5 that are available, I have here, and it's also in the notes that I sent you with the PDF yesterday. First one is Bitwarden, and that one's actually free. 1Password is about $36 a year. NordPass is free for a basic level, or premium level is about $36 a year. Keeper is $35, and Dashlane is $42. A lot of these, and best way to search for them or to choose one is just do a Google search for top 5 or top 10 password managers in 2023. And it'll give you a list, and it'll show you reviews on each one and show you the costs with links to each of those products. A lot of these products have a family level subscription too. So if you have a spouse, or if you have kids or grandkids, you can probably loop everybody in on the same thing and share the cost, which will help reduce that greatly. What sites should I protect with password managers? Number 1 is your email, definitely your banking, any services you use, like Amazon, Netflix, department stores, places like that, especially places that you may put a credit card on file because you've purchased from them before. Social media accounts. One of the common hacks out there, and what I see how most people's email is hacked, is you use an email address to log on to Facebook. Most people will reuse the same password for Facebook as they use for their email, and you will get hacked that way. So if at a minimum, if you are doing that, use different passwords between those 2 applications, because that's a surefire way to either someone take over your Facebook account or someone take over your email. When I say take over, you're not going to get locked out of your email, but they may start spamming from your email, which could eventually lead to your email being suspended or shut down if it's excessive. Plus all the emails and phone calls you're going to get from people saying, did you send this? Which is just going to be annoying. So let's talk a little bit about email phishing. What is phishing and what's going on? And these are the stats for 2023 so far. Phishing is the second most frequent cause of data breaches right now. Once they can get into your account, they can basically work their way into other systems. If you're keeping your banking info or your credit card info in there somehow, or your the stores you're using or whatnot, it opens doors, even the slightest, for them to get into those places. It says approximately half of the phishing email attachments are in the form of Microsoft documents, and that particular one I kind of disagree with a little bit. They do use quite a bit of Microsoft documents. I typically see a PDF come in or an attachment that is an HTML file, which will take you directly to a website. The most commonly impersonated brands for phishing is Amazon, Google, Microsoft, places like that. About just over 1% of all sent emails are malicious, which means that they could potentially install a virus, which is again why you got to be cautious with any attachments that they have. Excuse me. What are the signs that a message may be a scam? Claims to be from a company or a business. I see a lot that appear to be from Microsoft or, again, Amazon or other businesses like that. But the sender's address is a domain, not from that company, but like Gmail or Yahoo, or something unrecognizable, or a foreign domain, which a lot of foreign domains, you'll see .com at the end and then another dot and then usually a country abbreviation. So like Russia, it'll be .com.ru. And you'll see a lot of spam emails out of Russia. They love to send those out. Spam may be from a contact of yours, which is a case that we've had happen recently, prompted this training. But usually the way that the email's worded, it's not as that person normally speaks. So that's kind of a cue that may not be authentic. You'll typically find a lot of grammatical or spelling errors in the emails. And most of the time, there's some kind of request in there for you to log in through a link in the email. And please, that's a surefire way to give up your password and your username to something. Types of phishing attacks that happen. One is account verification. That's a very common one. You'll get an email that something's wrong with your account. We need you to verify your login credentials, or we need you to verify this or that. And it looks like it's coming from the company, but it's not. And that's to get your logon information for that, whatever they're phishing for, whether it's your email or whoever they're pretending to be. There's a few here I don't run into that often. The cloud file sharing, it's not a real common one, although you will find that I do see emails come in that tell me my iCloud account is in peril somehow, and want me to log on to verify it. DocuSign, not too many of those will come through. Fake invoices, I see those all the time, and usually a lot of those are followed with an HTML attachment that will take you to a malicious website. Delivery notification, you'll see something perhaps from FedEx or UPS. There was an error with delivery of your package. Log on here to find out why. And then the final one is tax scams, which I rarely see anything along that lines, but those are, again, an area that they do try to mess with you. So let's get into trying to identify what some of the email scams look like. So This one looks like it's coming from Bank of America, and they're blasting this out to, thousands upon tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, hoping that a good percentage of them have a Bank of America account and are fearful of this message and will take action. Easiest way is if it comes in like this and says there's something wrong with your account and you don't have a Bank of America account, it's spam. But if you'll notice at the top, it says Bank of America. Bank of America is not going to send out an email from a Comcast address. Second says undisclosed recipients. It should be coming to you directly. You may be in a list of emails, but even if they blind CC'd a group, your name will show up in that list. Grammatical errors. Dear member should have been capitalized. Of course, the ever famous sign into your account here. Nice little feature, at least on PCs. I'm not sure about Macs, but if you hover over a link, a little pop-up will come and show you what that link address is. And so if you hover over that link in this email, it should say www.bankofamerica.com if it was legit. But if it's something other than that, it's bogus. It's spam. It's an attempted scam on you. Again, here's one that looks like it's from Microsoft. If you look at the top again, that is not a Microsoft address. Especially here in the States, you're not going to be getting communications from the UK. And that's what a UK address would look like. A typical spam will have some kind of threat in it. So we're having trouble with your account. Your account's going to be suspended or turned off or deleted or whatever. You're going to find spelling mistakes because most of these don't originate in the US. Again, there's a sign on where it says sign into Microsoft. That's a clickable link. And then below you'll see some like grammatical errors or a fake email signature. I had one last night that looked like it came from Microsoft. They forgot to put the T in Microsoft in their signature field. So always check these. And some email providers, and I can't get into telling you how to check on each and every one because everybody's email is different, whether you're using Outlook or a web browser or however you're doing it. But you should be able to, even if it just says from Microsoft Outlook message service, there should be a way for you to see the actual sender's email address. If you click on that address, it should expand it or allow you to edit the contact and then see it. But there should be some way for you to be able to see that address if it's not showing you. Here's another common one from Netflix. Your billing payment didn't go through. Log on to your account and sort this out for us. Again, this did not come from Netflix. Came from a very odd email address. And this is one of the typical means of scams is to tell you there's something wrong with one of your accounts or a delivery or something going on to make you feel you need to take action immediately and follow through on that email. If you do have an account with Netflix or Amazon or anybody like this, or you're expecting a package from FedEx and it says it's a FedEx delivery, contact the company directly. Or if it's Netflix, go to your browser, go to the Netflix website, log into your account, and you will see if there's something going on with your account. You should have a message in there if there was truly a payment error or something like that. There should be a message waiting for you, but never go through one of these emails. And then here's the one we ran into, like I said, about a month ago, where we had some of these circulating, where it may look like it's coming from your boss or a coworker or someone you know in the organization. The email address is not correct, but the way this is worded, I see these all the time from multiple people, is I need you to go get some gift cards real quick. We'll reimburse you as soon as you get them, and we're done. And it looks like it's from somebody you know. Don't bite into this. If you're unsure and you think maybe they did send it to you, send them an email, not reply into this, but send them a new email and pull up that contact from your contact list, and say, did you send this? Ask them or call them or something. And again, you can see the different errors, and there's a sense of urgency or whatnot to this. So let's get into how to avoid these. Number one and foremost is never, ever click on a link in an email if you're unsure if the message is legitimate or not. Or especially if you do not know who the sender is. If it involves a service you may use, again, go directly to that service, to their website, log on with your account. Never use the links in the emails, or even call customer service. A lot of times, those companies may even transfer you to their fraud protection division or something like that, and have you forward the email to them, so that they can track it down and do their own hunting on it, to try to stop them. So again, here I said, if you feel a threat or unsure about it, contact them directly. Never go through the email that was sent to you. A way to cut down on these messages in your inbox is to start marking them as spam or junk, or a lot of times there's an option to block the sender. And again, I can't get into telling you how to do this because of how many different email providers and applications just this group of 30 today may be using. So your email provider should have instructions for you to do this, or if you're using something like Outlook or Apple's version of email or something like that, excuse me, you can do a quick Google search, how to block a sender or how to mark an email as spam or junk, and it'll, as those start coming in the future, if it sees the same sender, and a lot of these are the same sender, or at least in batches, they'll start going right to your junk folder or your spam folder, and not in your main email, and we'll cut down on the amount of these you see. Another way to really cut down on potential fraud is emails that are friendly. People you know, people you work with, people like me or any of the team here at the office that have RPEC emails. You can mark them as trusted. And again, if you contact your email provider or Google instructions, it'll tell you how to do that. Another easy way is to add that email address to your contacts list. That way it knows that that email is good. Whereas if you have one that comes in that may be masquerading as that person, it should be flagged somehow as not being legitimate from that person. So hopefully those are a few tips and tools for you to prevent being hacked, reduce the amount of spam, and reduce the risk of being scammed by any of these. So I'm going to look through chat here and answer those first, and then we can start taking some questions. Will this presentation be available afterwards? Yes, we will get this, the recording saved, uploaded to our YouTube channel, and put on our website with our other training materials, so that you can share it at meetings if you want to, or have it to refer to again. And best password managers, please. Again, I have the ones listed in there. When we post this to the website, I can put some links into some of those, or to some services that do reviews on some of the top 5 or top 10 passwords managers, so you can make a decision based on the reviews that you read, or the pricing that they offer. So I'll provide those links in that post on our website when we get this up. So anybody have any live questions that you might want to ask? Tim.
First one is, I understand in the Zoom world that if you see a background that's kind of like fuzzy like that, that's a clue that the presenter is AI generated. Oh, I'm sorry, Derek. My real question is, sometimes it makes me paranoid. Pat Mix, who was our secretary at our time 2 years ago, after our first foray into endorsements and contributions, and we had a motion out of a committee and whatnot. And then shortly after that, a purported email from me to her with a monetary amount very similar to what had been approved was supposedly me directing her to immediately wire transfer that amount to a Wells Fargo account in Los Angeles. And it turned out that when she did some investigating, that account actually existed. And I think Pat's on this call. She can probably say, I think the answer was, there wasn't a whole lot that Wells Fargo was going to do about that, but it just seemed almost like somebody was, it wasn't just like you're talking about, someone was actually actively listening in and trying to defraud. It just sounded too similar and a little too much based in reality. And I can tell you the good news is that I was not able to pick up the call when she originally called me, because I don't know if she used 4-letter words very many times, but I think she was very close to wondering, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
Pat, maybe
Right.
you can add some stuff there and have some insight. Just seemed awfully creepy. It's enough to make you really paranoid that goes beyond sort of bot AI generated stuff.
Is it a possibility that minutes from that meeting were shared relatively soon by email
No,
after that?
I don't recall, Pat. I think it was within a couple of days. I don't think we had even a chance to generate minutes. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it was so believable because when I questioned the person, I thought it was Tim, and I thought he'd lost his mind. But so I said, they wanted me to do electric transfer request. So I've never done an electric transfer for RPEC. I've only written checks after the expense is approved. And the check then needs to be signed by 2 check signers. What is the expense, how much, and who is the vendor? So he wrote back, the vendor is Dimitri Ismail Montoya, does not accept checks. That's why I want you to send him a wire transfer of $2,300 for meeting and training program services, which sounds like something, we would do. And so here is the vendor's bank details. And he gave me the name, the bank, Wells Fargo, the account number, the routing number, the address. And then he said, email me a copy of the transfer receipt when you have completed the transfer. Well, we never I got a hold of Tim and everything, and then they asked me again, have you transferred the funds? Keep me posted. And I got another email. I sent you the vendor's bank details. Did you receive it? But yeah, it was just so almost believable because the way
was-
he worded it.
Was the meeting a virtual meeting?
It
Would
was.
have been,
discuss
it was
that?
in
So
21.
that's the paranoia right there. Was somebody monitoring that Zoom meeting? I don't know.
There's a possibility that, someone's email prior to that meeting had been compromised and they got the link to the meeting
Yeah.
and happened to sit in and said conducting business. So maybe they thought there was a chance that they could find some tidbits in there.
And I'll point out that when, as Pat says, that's why the training on the annual training on the AFSCME Financial Standards Code is so important, because that's what we follow. And you go there, we don't do that. So if any requests made for electronic transfers, right away it's bogus, because we simply do not do that as an organization.
Yeah, that one would be hard to kind of backtrack and figure out what happened. I'm guessing that somebody most likely somehow got a hold of your meeting info and somehow sat in on your meeting, whether it was by phone or whatnot, so they weren't easily detectable, and saw that you did that and then knew who to contact, by listening to the meeting, that you were president and Pat was treasurer, and followed those steps there. So that would be my guess. But another common thing that happens is if somebody can access your email. Again, I talked about an email that was sent out to members of the organization that came from a few different, appeared to come from a few different members, asking for gift card purchases.
And that was a time when I was getting a lot of those bogus emails from members of my board, supposedly, to my old Comcast account saying, can you help me buy this Amazon account?
Right.
My daughter's getting married. I need help, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And a lot of times what they'll do is, because they maybe, just because they could access your email, maybe they, a lot of times they can't see contacts, but they will look through maybe your sent messages and find groups of people that you've sent messages to recently, and use those to pretend they're you, and masquerade in that way. Claire.
Tim, did you say that this was a couple of years ago that you had that wire transfer scam?
It was late May of 2021. Yes.
That's about the time that Zoom implemented security features that were there optional, but now became default, like having someone have to be admitted to the meeting. Back in the old days of Zoom, if you didn't enforce a waiting room, people could just join in by clicking the link.
I don't know. I wasn't
That may be how they got in there and you didn't even know it.
Yeah, I wasn't a Zoom host at the time, so I don't know if we had that, whoever the host was did that time, but that's good to know. I did not know that.
Yeah. And, we utilize both methods here at the office, and not to get into a Zoom conversation, but like today's meeting, we're not discussing anything sensitive. It's more training. So I don't have everybody sit in a waiting room waiting to let them in. A board meeting, we may do that so that we can actually look up people or something like that, so we can assign them titles or whatever, as we allow them in. But that may be something that you might want to consider using for future meetings, is to make sure that the waiting room is turned on. I believe, like Claire said, it's the default now. You actually have to turn it off if you do not want that. So, and it's assignable at each meeting. Martin, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. One thing I've noticed recently is sometimes it's an email, sometimes it's a text. It's just somebody that I know that sends something that says, gosh, is this you in this picture? And then there's a link. And, I just would never click on those. And it's usually, if I hover, it's somebody else, spoofing somebody's email address.
Right, right. And, you know, I want to keep this mostly related to email, but I have been seeing a common one on Facebook lately, where somebody may hack someone's Facebook account and leave a vague description of an accident, or, how horrible this happened to this person, and put a link into it to a supposed news article. And it's the same thing. It's to take you up to a site. It takes you to usually an off out of the Facebook app to a web browser that tries to have you log into Facebook again, so they can get your Facebook logon info. So the ways sometimes I think they have big think tanks like the political arena has, that they sit around and think of ways to try to target people and get away with these things. So we could go on for days with all the different methods, but again, these are some basic methods. The easiest for you to avoid being compromised, again, is at least an 8-character password with uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and characters. One thing I didn't include in here, now I kind of wish I had pulled it in, but there's some breakdowns you can find out there on the internet of how long it takes for a password to be hacked. And if you're just using just a word, say your pet's name or something like that, that can be done in minutes. If you use that with a combination of numbers, that can be done within hours. Once you get into this standard 8-character uppercase, lowercase, numbered, and characters, you're into tens to hundreds of years for even a computer to try to hack that password. So that's, and a lot of places you'll see now, especially online accounts that you may open or have, when it has you assign a password, it has a little meter under it that tells you what the strength of that password is. And you want to get that thing up as high as you can. If you type in password, it says low, but once you hit that 8-character and, all the unique aspects of that, it goes up to high, or, medium to high, and it'll continue depending on how you arrange those characters in there. So, and I'll see if I can find that information. If I can find a graphic or something like that, I'll include that in the post with this video on the website. Nancy.
Is anybody policing this? Is there penalties? Are people actually being punished for this? It seems like it's very invasive.
I every now and then I hear Congress is going to come up with some new rule or law that's going to help crack down on this. And like I said, the brain power being used behind these is, we could solve world hunger if they put it to the right purpose. The best thing to do is, if it looks like it's coming from Microsoft, look up Microsoft's fraud division or something and forward it to them, or Amazon or whatever those. They have people that they're paying to try to track these things down for impersonating people in their own company, or attempting fraud with that. Some of the others, there's not much you can do except, like I said, protect yourself, mark them as spam or junk, or block the sender. But if it's from a trusted, if it looks like it's from a trusted company or business, if you have a few minutes, go to your browser, go to the company's legitimate website, and see if you can find their fraud division. There's also, I believe, places you can either submit it, I don't know if the AG's office still does that here in the state, but even there's and again, I can look this up and I can put links in the email, in the website post for this. But I believe like the FCC would have a division that you can forward these things onto, and they, they'll do what they can, but a lot of times these are originating overseas through, they hop them through different countries so that their IP address is not detectable. So it's tough, and it is such a it's an easy means of money for a lot of these people, because there's enough people out there that don't know the difference between something that's real and something that's fraudulent, and get duped into doing this. And you hear stories on the news all the time about people that fall for scams that you may listen to and you go, geez, I would have never have done that. But especially like with Pat, when she was actually in conversation with these people, once you engage in a conversation, a lot of times you can be swayed into doing the wrong thing, because then they got you, they're putting pressure on you, or may come up with some sob story to make you think it's real. So Don, how you doing today? You're still muted, bud. Don, you're muted.
Story of my life.
So, do you have a question?
Yeah. Should you have all your devices linked up? I mean, your phones, your iPads.
That's a tough one. I'm an IT guy. I've been an IT guy for 30 some years. And all my devices are linked up. If I lose my phone, I'm probably in trouble. But the one thing I do is I do not log on to my bank on my phone. So there's no record of that on my phone. And pretty much all my accounts have that multi-factor authentication turned on.
Oh,
So my bank recognizes like 2 devices that I've logged on to it from. And that has a limited shelf life. Like every 60 days, it'll forget that device. I try to go back, log back on. It'll say, was this you? And it'll send me a text message with a verification code. So there is a risk to having all your devices linked. Even just the most simplistic way of, if you log on to Google, and so it can have your bookmarks and everything else all across your devices. Google will save your passwords. It has its own passwords manager. And that's actually a simple one too. And it's actually not too bad, because it will do searches in recent data breaches. Google will. And if it finds your username and password in its password manager related to a data breach, it'll let you know next time you log on to that site using that username and password. It'll let you know that combination was found in a data breach, and that you should change your password. So in that sense, it's handy. If you're taking precautions, I would say you're okay. If you're not taking any precautions, I would say never ever do that. Because if you lose access to one of those devices, leave your phone somewhere, leave your tablet somewhere, you could be in trouble. So
yeah. Okay.
Ed,
Thank you. With AI now being an issue, it's a lot of concerns. Well, what part does AI play in the hacking, scamming, and all of that as of this point in time? Some kind of reference, because it's probably going to get worse. So what should we be cautious about?
it could. I haven't done a lot of research into where AI is involved in this right now. I do know that hackers and scammers do use, what's called as bots or simple programs or algorithms to run against like your Facebook account or something like that, and look for simple passwords or something, and come up with a means to hack that. So they're using that in that capacity. Regarding email, I don't think you're going to see too much influx on the AI side of that. Where I see the danger of that, and you've probably heard stories on the news of, and my father-in-law actually got one of these calls where it sounded like it was your granddaughter or something, and they're in trouble. They're somewhere far away, and they need money right now. And especially with AI, if they can get a lot of them just, it may sound like a bad connection, and it was a young girl, so you think it's your granddaughter because she's calling you grandpa or papa or whatever. But with AI, if they can get a voice sample of that person, then it becomes all totally realistic to you, because you recognize the voice.
Yeah, that's it. What I've read that as well, is that mostly it's with phone calls that AI are involved in scamming for that reason, because they can make it sound so realistic.
Yeah. Even with things like that, and again, with emails that look like they're coming from somebody, read them carefully. Does it sound like how that person speaks? That'll be clues. I mean, if they're asking for gift cards, does the person speak that way that is in the email, or if you've got one of those phone calls, are there words being used that the person that you think it is doesn't use, or the way they say certain things? A lot of times there's little clues in there. With the issue with Tim and Pat, with looking at a campaign contribution, why does that money need to go all the way to a bank in LA? If it's for a local campaign. So there's little clues in there. But with email, I don't see too much with AI coming into that, just because they're so successful the way it is now. They may use something like the ChatGPT to try to construct emails or something, but even that a lot of times will read odd, so but I with email, and since that's what we're talking about today, I don't see a huge influx of issues email wise with that. So
Well, the problem being that let's say we have this Zoom going on, and they can set an algorithm or a bot, whatever you call it, to capture the voices of the people.
mhm.
If they're able to identify who they are, including ourselves here, and there are questions, let's say, in the dialogue, and the questions relate to either a no answer or a yes answer,
Mhm.
and you pronounce the word, and they can match your name to the word to your account,
Right.
then you'll be buying stuff that you never heard of.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. and like I said, we could do a whole nother discussion on other types of scams that are out there. You know, there's phone scams where all they need for you to say the word yes, you know, like, and the common thing is, can you hear me okay? And it's usually a recording.
Correct.
But
yeah.
as soon as you say yes, it'll connect you to a phone number in Antigua or the, you know, the DR, or, you know, somewhere else, and you'll just get this huge overseas charge on your phone bill. Or it'll authorize a purchase because you said yes. So, you know, cases like that, I never say yes. I never do any kind of affirmation during that phone call. And usually if I don't know who it is, I just hang up.
Well, you used the word 4 times already, and you were famous because you're a IT person. You've been around a long time.
Mhm.
So why will you be buying next time that you don't know about?
Right.
If they crack the code here.
Yeah. Like I said, you know, that's getting into a whole nother area that, you know, we can try to do another presentation about, for, you know, phone scams or whatnot. So, you know, we can do more research to present, you know, better tools or, you know, information to you on that at that time. So, but like I said, they're everywhere. So, you know,
True.
you know,
Yeah.
that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah, the last item, you know, following up on this, I have avoided using that word, which you just mentioned 4 times.
Right.
And I use an alternative way of affirmation. So I guess I'm paranoid, but you know, it goes with the territory. All
Yeah.
right, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, Ed. Corrine. I'm not hearing you, Corrine. It shows you have a mic, but I'm just not hearing you. So if you can, maybe just type your question into the chat and I'll get that answered. At the bottom of your screen there should be some icons, and towards the middle, there should be a chat one. If you click on that. Yeah, we're not hearing you, Corrine. I'm sorry. Any other questions? See if Corrine can get a chat located there. Okay, not really seeing any. So I hope today, you know, provided you at least some basic information on ways to kind of a little better secure your email. The biggest thing to take away is securing your email, and helping to identify emails that could potentially do you harm, whether it's compromise your email again, or your password, or compromise your some online account somewhere. Because you know, in the end, they're typically they're all after money somehow, and somewhere this will lead to money disappearing on you. So again, we'll get this uploaded to YouTube. We'll get it posted on the website, and I will get the additional links in there on reporting fraud and the other that we spoke of. So like I said, I hope this was helpful, and if it is, we'll look at maybe venturing into some other areas down the road, because heaven knows there's plenty of fraud happening in other areas too that we can help try to keep you somewhat protected. So I thank you all for coming today, and have a great weekend.
We thank you too.
We
Thanks.
thank you too, yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Derek.
Derek,